Welcome back to my channel. Today's story will give you chills. You won't believe what this woman did, but before we get into it, make sure to leave a like and subscribe so you don't miss out on any of our awesome videos. Let's dive right in. There are some people in the world who have such big hearts that they would be willing to sacrifice anything to help others. And sometimes this selflessness can lead them to do things that no one else would even consider. In 2017, a young woman from Texas named Sarah Harbison made the incredibly generous decision to donate part of her liver to save the life of her mother, a stranger. But when she learned that the hospital wanted to charge her mother $64,000 for the surgery, Sarah was forced to take drastic measures. In fact, after the operation, she refused to leave the hospital without her mom. That is, until she had struck a deal with the medical staff. What was it? How did Sarah manage to persuade the doctors to reduce the cost? And most importantly, how did her mother's health improve after the surgery? Let's take a look at what happened to the woman who refused to leave the hospital with her mother's body still on the operating table. The beginning of the story. Sarah Harper is an American woman who lives in Houston, Texas with her husband, parents, and 3 children. Life was good for her, and there wasn't a single thing that could threaten her family's happiness. The only exception was Sarah's mom, who had been battling cirrhosis of the liver for several years. Despite all the treatments, the disease continued to progress, and soon it became clear that the only way to save the woman's life would be a liver transplant. But unfortunately, due to the high cost of treatment, neither Sarah nor her dad could afford to pay for their wife and mother's surgery. They were just ordinary people working standard jobs and couldn't come up with the necessary amount. When Sarah found out about her mother's dire condition, she didn't hesitate for a second. She decided to donate part of her own liver to save her. After all, they say a child's heart is pure and capable of great things, and Sarah was literally ready to give her mother half of her own body to save her life. Of course, doctors did everything they could to dissuade her, but the young woman was adamant in her decision and went through with the operation. But then came the moment when the doctors told Sarah the truth. The operation was performed by a team of more than 50 specialists at the University of Texas MD Anderson Cancer Center and lasted 7 hours. At first, everything went well, but when the doctors finished the procedure, they told Sarah that she couldn't see her mother yet because the woman's body had to be stitched up, and the young woman immediately sensed something was wrong. It turned out that in addition to the $60,000 for the transplant itself, Sarah's mother also needed an additional $4,000 for medication and another $10,000 for a month's stay in the hospital. Sarah's father worked as a simple welder and earned about $3,000 a month, while Sarah herself, along with her husband, worked at a furniture store, making about $2,000 a month. Altogether, their income barely covered their basic needs, and they certainly couldn't come up with $74,000. To make matters worse, the doctors wouldn't let Sarah leave the hospital with her mother's body still on the operating table, so the woman had to find a way to get around them. And that's when she came up with a crazy idea. "I won't leave without my mom." At that point, Sarah was desperate, and she knew that if she didn't come up with a solution, her mother would die. So she called the hospital's chief executive officer and told him she wouldn't leave until he personally gave her a written document stating that her mother's bill would be reduced by $50,000. At first, the hospital administration tried to ignore Sarah and offered her free psychological counseling, but she didn't budge. She sat in front of the hospital entrance day and night and slept on a chair. Seeing her determination, the hospital CEO finally agreed to meet with the woman. During their conversation, Sarah said that she didn't want to cause trouble, but she was ready to sit in the hospital indefinitely. She also pointed out that she was getting support from many people across the country who learned about her story and were ready to donate money to help her mom. Eventually, the hospital management backed down. They reduced the cost of treatment and Sarah's mother was saved. However, not everyone was happy about this outcome. After the surgery, Sarah stayed in the hospital with her mom for a few weeks until both of them were fully recovered. Then the happy family returned home. At first, the woman's health really improved. She felt great and was able to enjoy life to the fullest. However, a few months later, her condition took a turn for the worse. Doctors prescribed her a bunch of medications that negatively affected her quality of life. Also, her body started rejecting the transplanted organ. Was this the end of the story? As it turned out, after the surgery, Sarah's mother's body began to reject the new liver. As a result, the woman ended up on the transplant waiting list again. But this time, she was given a lower priority since the donated organ wasn't compatible with her blood type. Thus, it was now clear that her only chance to survive was to receive a liver from a deceased donor. Nevertheless, the family refused to give up. They reached out to various media outlets and told their story, hoping that this would increase their chances of finding a donor. And eventually, their efforts paid off. A suitable liver was found, and the operation was successful. This time, it was performed by specialists at Houston Methodist Hospital. But what about the woman who refused to leave the hospital with her mother's body on the operating table? Today, both Sarah and her mum are doing well. Now, the woman's son is also involved in charity work. He often participates in fundraising events for children in need of transplants. As for Sarah's mother, she's very grateful to her daughter for saving her life and tries to spend as much time as possible with her. The woman understands that if it weren't for Sarah, she wouldn't be alive today. Therefore, she's doing everything she can to make up for lost time and enjoy every moment with her loved ones. And what do you think of this story? Leave your thoughts in the comments below. And here's another story that will give you chills. Woman cuts open her abdomen in front of everyone. It was a Tuesday afternoon when Anna noticed a small lump in her abdomen. The thing was that the woman had been feeling unwell for several days, but she kept putting off visiting the doctor. She thought it was probably just another indigestion attack, but when the lump suddenly appeared, she realized she needed to seek medical attention right away. So Anna went to the nearest clinic where the local doctor examined her and sent her for an ultrasound. The results of the examination were shocking. It turned out that Anna had a 7-centimeter tumor in her stomach. The doctor immediately sent her to the hospital for emergency surgery. When the doctors made an incision in Anna's abdomen, they discovered a huge cancerous tumor. They managed to remove it, but the woman still had to undergo chemotherapy. A few weeks after the operation, Anna went to visit her oncologist. He explained that although the chemotherapy would be tough, it was absolutely necessary to destroy the remaining cancer cells in her body. The doctor warned her that during the treatment, her hair would start falling out and she might lose her appetite. But Anna was ready for all of this. She was determined to fight the disease and win. Meanwhile, the first session of chemotherapy was scheduled for the next day. That evening, Anna cooked dinner for her family and shared with them the news about the upcoming treatment. Her husband and children were very worried about her, but they knew that whatever difficulties lay ahead, they would be able to overcome them together. The next day came. Anna underwent her first session of chemotherapy, and soon her hair began falling out. However, this didn't bother her at all. She was too busy fighting for her life. Several months passed in this way. During this time, Anna had to go through dozens of painful procedures, but her willpower and love for her family helped her endure it all. Finally, the day came when the doctors told her that she was in remission. It was a real miracle. Today, Anna is completely healthy and actively engages in charity work, helping those who find themselves in a similar situation. Don't be afraid of chemotherapy, she says. It's scary at first, but it helps you beat cancer. I'm living proof of that. What do you think of this story? Leave your thoughts in the comments below. And that's all for today. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Until next time.